Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored today to introduce you this special session on the energy and the city of the future, which will be a brainstorming of idea about this symposium for the session of 2020. The energy and the city or wheel of the future is a series of international events dealing with the city and the science. The city is a laboratory of meeting between dreams and realities. At a different scale, citizens have to manage daily and to make a better tomorrow. The history of the International Conference on the Energy and the City of the Future started in a simple coffee break in Sergi Pontoise, close to Paris, between Professor Mohamed Dar Sharif from PMI, Professor Nancy from Queen's University in Canada, Professor Ben Nasser from Ines Kashan, and myself, Professor El Ganawi from University of Lorraine. This simple discussion was so rich that we decided quickly about three institutions immediately to create a series of events with a specific spirit to couple under common exchange to mix together scientists, visionists of tomorrow, industrial, and policies of the city. Professor Ben Nasser and Jean-Michel Bricaire helped us continuously and joined the adventure in official sense about the email association in this session of 2020. Thank you for them. Then the symposium became the place to be for dreaming about 2050 city, then starting in Sergi, followed by Queens, followed by north of Morocco in Martil, the scientific basement of the conference being built in French language. Without imagination, future can't find any support to materialize human progress. As sketched on the slide that you see, the city of Longwy, which is a very small city in the north of France, in frontier between Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, there is an imagination of 2050 and worked 2 days of the EVF symposium on 2017. Without a memory, future doesn't make any sense. This is a picture of our EVF in Fez in Morocco, a city old of 1,200 years. The conference served here as a bridge to connect past and future, history and future. Then we go to the city of Pune in India, close to Mumbai. This city with more than 3.5 million inhabitants become a city who gives some maturity to our event, because the event traveled from the Francophone area to Anglophone area to a big country with a huge question on energy, materials, and cities. Here the edition reached the international dimension with full English presentation and paper published in E3Z proceedings. The next edition was supposed to held in Paris, but as you know, because of the health crisis, our session of today is supposed to make a brainstorming, serving potentially to alimentate the topics for coming events. All editions needed a huge organization. Warm thanks to Professor Desano for dressing the summary of Longwy edition, Professor Zorkani for Faz edition, and special warm to Professor Sridharshan for dressing the summary of Pune edition and for his group for such a huge work for organization, the Symposium of Pune. Our edition conclude with a signed document from scientists, citizens, political leaders on a strong intention on working on a common future of a better city, sustainable, making science and progress in the service of a better life of each and of all. This format making possible the session starting from in Canada at 8 a.m. and ending in India 10 and a half hour later. That allow us a panoramic vision on EVF history and progress for a city taking advantage on renewable resources for housing and mobility, energy, etc. Taking to women in the center of the scientific and the technical progress. Many thanks for Queen University and University Mohammed VI in Morocco for hosting the online edition. Warm thanks to our speaker from Canada, Cameroon, France, India, Russia, and we wish you a big success and a long life to this event serving Homen and the city. Thank you. Welcome.
Well, hello again. I will start by introducing myself. So I'm freshly a doctor. I am Fariel Mustapha. I am an architect at first, before being a PhD. So I would like to introduce you also a part of my work, as I said, which is this work was in collaboration between the EPME, the School of Engineer, and also University of Cergy-Pontoise, both in France. And I would like also to talk about the topic of energy and the city of future, which is fortunately include some of architecture at the building scale, of course. So I will introduce you first the subject, which is called Sustainable and Modular Housing Under Energy and Architectural Constraints. So let's talk about sustainable house. What is a sustainable house of the future? So by definition, and after some research, of course, this type of house must be compliant or must have some points, which are first, it should be adaptable and flexible. It should be also low energy consumption, oriented on user comfort, and it should be also economic. Adaptable and flexible. This principle, from purely architectural point of view, it refers to the involving surface needs of the occupants. As we know, the dynamic nature of human, it is in compliance with his spatio-temporal needs. So when we start our life with a time lapse, we need a great small surface. So we are only two, we started our life, and after that we got children, which is good, but the surface need became greater. So the initial surface, we added another initial surface again. And after the children goes away or flies away, as we choose, we need again to reduce that space's need. So the initial surface come back again. And if the starting surface is the same, so the space is called elastic. And also the energy consumption obey to the same dynamic, which is when we have a small surfaces, the energy needs are small also. But when the surface became greater, the energy needs became greater too. So, and after a lot of research, and especially in my field in architecture, the architecture which is compliant with this dynamic is the modular architecture. And for that, we choose a container cell. Why we choose the container? Because it had some advantages, even if it's designed for logistics first or supply chain. So the advantages is there is a great speed of execution because the unit is already there, and it costs 20% less than the conventional architecture. It is made to be stacked or superimposed or juxtaposed. It is resistant to corrosion and wind due to its envelope. It is also possible to reconvert it into housing really fastly. And finally, there is a really big ecological part, which is recycling, because the use of the shipped container is perfectly feasible. Just as a record and as a reminder, the container architecture belongs to the modular architecture. And what is modular architecture? It is first we have a unit, or cell, or module. We can call it by all these ways. We can add it to this unit another unit by juxtapositions or by superpositions. We can also add a unit from different size, which is perfectly feasible because the container, it exists in 20 feet and 40 feet. This structure in general can be modified partially or also globally. And finally, we can remove also some cells. So this architecture is elastic. And also we conclude that each one of these geometries have an energy need different. So when we have a great richness in geometry, we have also a great richness of energy profiles that we must take in consideration, especially in architecture. And also with this topic of today, energy is becoming a really great topic and worldly topic. So a modular housing is sustainable only when we take first the morphology aspect, which is impact directly the visual and architectural comfort, and the energetic aspect. And here the optimization is. And with this in mind, our roadmap is like this. So first we proceed by designing the envelope of our unit cell, which is the container. And after we define also how many cells we're going to be in need. And this number of cells impact directly the morphological impact. The morphology, sorry, because when we combine our basic cells, we're going to have a number of combinatorial morphologies. And we have an energetic impact after that, which is we have also an energetic aspect because every geometry, every combinatorial geometry have an energy need which is different. And there is optimization. Here we have an example, which is an approach with 8 cells of container and 7 cells of container. What we want to do is to know how to become bigger or how to become smaller with our geometries and energetic aspects. So the optimal shape by our method with 8 cells is the one left. And the optimal shape with 7 cells is the one right, situated right. The optimal in our case is the one who expressed the less heating demand by year. And in the fact, with our method, merging thermal needs and morphology, we know where is the sense of retention and extension. And I will be really short. The point that we want really to express today is treating only architectural aspect by choosing the style of architecture is not sufficient alone. We need to treat also the thermal aspect and energetic aspect in general. But to achieve a really good and really well optimization, we have to take in consideration the 2 points. And finally, we're going to achieve the goal of the energy and cities of the future. So the impact of the architecture and energy is highlighted. So we conclude by this. And we want also to improve our elastic model, which is today only thermal, but we want it to be more than that by taking in consideration the engineering part, civil engineering part, by material part, by also using different materials, not only cotton steels of the container, moving to another unit, which is wooden unit or concrete unit. And for this, my presentation is off. I hope that we gain some times, and I would like to thank you again for listening to me.